You are dead. Right now, you are floating in a place that looks like paradise, and you are completely confused. Suddenly, a man appears emitting a blinding light. It is God. But he does not greet you with booming trumpets, but with an awkward apology. It turns out he ran out of coffee this morning, overslept, and whoops made you disappear from the world a little earlier than planned. To make up for this little divine clerical error, he offers you a deal, a second life. Before your brain can process this craziness, he snaps his fingers and the wheel of destiny appears. An infinite roulette wheel with millions of possible lives. You grab the wheel and spin it with all your might, silently praying you do not come back as something pathetic like a snail or an accountant. The wheel spins until it stops on a slot as red as blood. The word appears clearly. Assassin. The look of disgust on your face is so obvious that even the creator feels awkward. So, like a used car salesman, he offers you a bonus. He lets you try before you buy. He hands you a deck of cards describing different types of historical assassins. You look at the first card and decide to play. You choose the destiny of the Sicarii. You wake up in a strange room with a headache that feels like it is splitting your skull in two. As your vision clears, the memories of this body flood your mind like a violent torrent. You are in the year 73 AD. The location is the fortress of Masada in the region of Jerusalem. It seems God has a twisted sense of humor because he has sent you to the most desperate moment in the history of the Sicarii. You look out the window and see the brutal reality. You are completely surrounded by the all-powerful Roman legion. The only good news is that you are in a fortress built on an almost unreachable plateau, an eagle's nest that has kept the invaders at bay until now. You are just learning to move your new fingers when a deep, terrifying sound cuts through the air. It is a war horn. There is no time to adjust. A new wave of Roman attacks has begun. The sound of the war horn does not paralyze you. On the contrary, it injects liquid fire into your veins. You feel a wave of heat, a delirious confidence that makes you believe you alone could tear apart the entire enemy empire. You adjust your tanned leather armor, grab your weapons by instinct, and run toward the defensive point assigned to you. Your position is at the very top of the cliff, and your task is primitive but lethal. You must push massive rocks down the slope every time the ranks of Roman soldiers try to ascend the narrow path. Maybe it is because your only function is to let gravity do the dirty work, or maybe because this body you inhabit is already desensitized to violence, but you do not feel even a drop of fear when looking into the abyss. You look over the edge and see the shining shields below. You push. The first rock falls bouncing violently against the canyon walls, gaining terrifying speed. When it impacts, the sound is nauseating, a mix of crushed metal and pulverized bones that rises up to your ears. You repeat the process again and again. Your muscles scream from the effort, dust fills your lungs, and sweat blinds you. You watch the perfect formation of the Legion break into panic before the rain of death you send them. You do not know how much time has passed in this frenzy, but finally the horn sounds again. This time is different. It is the sound of victory. The Romans are retreating. The euphoria of victory fills the air. That night people dance and sing. In the middle of the celebration, a beautiful woman approaches you. Your body memory instantly recognizes her as the love of your life. Together you seek refuge in the darkness, sharing secrets and passion, trying to forget for a few hours that death sleeps outside. But war does not respect romance. When dawn breaks, the war horn sounds again. You run to your position, expecting another bloody battle, but the landscape has changed drastically. The Romans do not attack. Instead, they have forced thousands of Jewish slaves to build a giant dirt ramp on the west flank. It is a masterstroke of psychological cruelty. Your comrades lower their bows with shaking hands, unable to shoot at their own people. But you are a stranger in this unit, a pragmatic intruder. You know that mercy is a luxury they cannot afford. You are one of the few who shoots arrows staining your hands with the blood of innocents to try to stop the construction. It is a horrible day. The group's morale sinks faster than the stones they throw. The leader tries to motivate them with speeches about the nation and God, but the words have no effect. 2 months of slow mental torture pass. Finally, the ramp is completed, eliminating the fortress's height advantage. The narrow path no longer matters. The Roman legion marches comfortably up the artificial slope, pushing a monstrous siege tower directly against the walls. Without the geographical advantage, you and the Sicarii are crushed and forced to retreat. The Romans set fire to the wooden defensive wall, and the flames consume the last hope. At nightfall, the enemy withdraws to their camps to rest, letting the fire finish its work. You watch the flames, and the truth hits you in the gut. Tomorrow, when the fire dies out, the fortress will fall. On that fateful night, your leader makes a decision that borders on absolute madness. With hypnotic oratory, he convinces everyone that God has abandoned his people because Jerusalem has already fallen. He tells them that voluntary departure is not a defeat, but the last divine gift to die as free men and not as Roman slaves. But there is a huge theological problem, which is that taking one's own life is an unforgivable sin in their faith. So they decide to cheat divine law with a macabre solution. Everyone will kill each other. In this way, technically, only the last man will bear the guilt of self-elimination, while the others will simply be homicide victims. To ensure total obedience, the leader describes in graphic detail how the Romans will humiliate, rape, and enslave their wives and children. Fear of dishonor ignites the men's fatal determination. Everyone agrees to the pact. The air fills with stifled sobs as fathers begin to snuff out the lives of their own families. And you are no exception. You approach the woman you loved last night. Your mind screams at you to stop to run, but this assassin's body has a will of its own. Your hands move on their own with cold efficiency, and you take the life of the only person you cared about in this hell. After the initial massacre, you walk on a river of blood. A drawing is held to choose 10 men who will execute the rest of the surviving males. Lady Luck spits in your face, and you are chosen to continue this path of pain. You continue the slaughter, going from eliminating your love to eliminating your own brothers in arms. When only 10 people are left alive, the final drawing takes place. One must finish off the remaining 9. And of course, with absolutely no surprise, you are the chosen one. You realize that God did not give you a prize. He gave you a VIP experience in hell. You eliminate the 9 comrades. Now you are the last living being in the fortress. You are standing alone, surrounded by almost 1,000 silent corpses. You fulfill your last mission. You set fire to the fortress so that the Romans find nothing but ashes and silence. Finally, with the fire licking at your heels, you raise your sword against yourself and end this nightmare. You wake up with a jolt, returning to the white light of heaven. Your first instinct is not to pray, but to clench your fist and fight the urge to punch the Creator in the face. You are furious. You scream at him that was not the life of an elite assassin, but a tragedy full of dust and suffering. This is not what you wanted. God backs away, visibly embarrassed. He knows he has given his client a bad first experience this time. To calm your anger, he promises that the next option will be exactly the definition of stealth and death. He offers you the deck again with an apologetic smile. You accept grudgingly and draw the next card to test your luck. You wake up in an austere Japanese-style room. This time you have chosen the path of the ninja, but unlike the noisy and bloody chaos of the Sicarii, this new life leaves you completely baffled. Forget everything you saw in the movies. Here, there are no tight black latex suits nor visual magic techniques. In fact, it looks like you have entered a boring farm life simulator. You get up before dawn to till the land and go to bed at dusk. Your diet is a torture of blandness. You only eat tofu, brown rice, sesame vegetables, and very occasionally some quail. But your body memory reveals the lethal logic behind this. A ninja strictly avoids foods with strong odors like garlic onion or game meat. When you hide inches from the enemy, your own breath or the smell of your sweat can be the betrayal that leads you to the grave. You continue with this farce of a humble farmer, until one day you find something strange at the door of your house. There are a few colored grains of rice on the ground. To anyone else, it would look like food dropped by a bird or a careless mistake of yours. But for you, it is a military code. One yellow grain, one white, and one black. The signal is crystal clear. Tonight, the enemy supply warehouse must burn to the ground. Night falls over your fake farm. You cover the embers in the fireplace with ash and press a hidden switch under that gray dust. The wooden floorboards open silently, revealing your true arsenal. Forget the black suit you see in the movies. In reality, that would make you stand out against the night sky. You put on a tight, dark green tunic designed to blend in with the vegetation and natural darkness. You pack your tools, hooks, and weapons and go out on the hunt. It is between 2 and 3 in the morning, the dead of night. You know by experience that this is the moment when the human biological clock falls to its lowest point. The guards are not just tired, their brains are programmed to shut down. You slip through the bushes, taking advantage of every shadow invisible to the patrols that are asleep on their feet. You reach the feudal lord's castle. It is a formidable fortress surrounded by a deep moat and curved stone walls impossible to scale without being detected. The main entrance is suicide, so you choose the most humiliating path, the drainage canal. A guard watches near the sewage outlet. You use a classic distraction tactic, making noise in the east, to attack in the west. You throw a stone far from your position. The sharp sound alerts the guard, who moves away to investigate. In that moment of distraction, you move fast as the wind and slip inside the drainage tunnel. You crawl through the filth, enduring the stench and the dirt until you manage to get out inside the walls. But you face a serious problem. The sewer stench is too strong. It could reveal your position from yards away. You are a professional paranoid and had already foreseen this. You had wrapped clean and dry clothes in several layers of waterproof oiled paper. Now you just have to wash yourself. You head silently toward the garden pond and submerge yourself to the bottom to clean the dirt off your body. When surfacing, you quickly change clothes. Now you are a clean and lethal ghost again. You scale the inner walls, avoid the last patrols, and reach your target, the Great Rice Warehouse. You spray oil everywhere and take out the flint. A single spark is sufficient. The fire roars violently, consuming the dry wood and the grain. With the orange light illuminating the night, you withdraw immediately before the alarm sounds. As you retreat across the rooftops, your instinct screams at you that something is wrong. The warehouse is an inferno of flames, but the silence is absolute. There are no alarm bells, no screams of panic. From your high position, you look down at the courtyard. A human figure engulfed in fire runs out of the warehouse. The poor bastard tries to reach the lake, but collapses and dies charred before touching the water. However, the horror you feel is not for his death, but for the way he moved. Even in his agony, he kept his center of gravity low and his steps light. You recognize that posture. It is the running style characteristic of your own clan. Anxiety hits you in the chest. It is a trap. You run toward the outer wall and stop dead in your tracks. Hundreds of torches illuminate the perimeter. The feudal lord's entire army was already deployed, waiting for you. There is no way out. You know that if you stay still, they will hunt you down like a rat. Your brain works a mile a minute, and you decide to up the ante. If they expected you to burn the warehouse, surely they did not expect you to burn the rest of the castle. You move fast and set fire to the residential and administrative buildings that were not protected. The plan works. Real panic breaks out when the fire threatens the Lord's quarters. You take advantage of the chaos of the soldiers trying to put out the new fires and slip through a gap in the surveillance. You run back to your farm with your heart in your throat, seeking the safety of your shelter. You reach your door panting and enter. But you barely take a step when you feel a sudden sharp pain in your calf. You look down and see a small dart stuck in your muscle. It is paralyzing poison. Before you can even curse your legs, give way, your vision blurs, and darkness swallows you completely. You open your eyes and a wave of pain hits you. You are chained and suspended in the air. When your vision stabilizes, you see a group of people in front of you. You recognize the feudal lord of the castle, an elite guard, and a huge man who is clearly the executioner. But what really impacts you is the man to the lord's right. You recognize his clothing. He belongs to the rival ninja clan, the sworn enemies of your family. You know a brutal interrogation awaits you, so you decide to activate your emergency plan. You use your tongue to search for the poison capsule hidden in your false tooth and end this fast. But you only find an empty hole. The rival ninja lets out a mocking laugh and extends his hand. In his palm rests your false tooth. He asks you sarcastically if that is what you are looking for. He shakes his head and says he has rotten luck. He tells you that on a sunny day he caught one of your comrades. After getting up close and personal, he discovered his rice grain code. He placed the marks, hoping your whole team would gather and flee toward the lair so he could track them. But sadly, no one came back. He continues saying that the previous 4 were stubborn and did not talk, and now they are 4 corpses. He hopes you will not be number 5. The signal is given, and the torture begins. Pain becomes your only world, but your training allows you to keep silence. Upon obtaining no information, they leave you alone, hanging like a side of beef. The rival ninja tells you to rest for tomorrow. You wait in silence until you are sure they are gone. It is time to use the forbidden technique. You know that the handcuffs fasten on the wrist bone and the thumb. You take a deep breath and do the unthinkable. With a sudden and powerful movement, you dislocate your own thumb, breaking the joint to fold it inside the palm of your hand. The pain is horrible, but it reduces the width of your hand enough to free yourself from the iron shackle. You fall to the ground with your body bruised and one hand useless. But you still have one last trick. You use your teeth to tear open an old bulging scar on your thigh. Blood gushes out, revealing a small razor blade that you had implanted under your skin years ago for situations like this. There is no way out of the castle, but there is a way to secure the clan's secrets. You hold the small blade with your good hand and repeat the choice you made at the fortress of Masada. You choose to go out on your own terms before they return. You return to heaven, but this time there are no screams or attempts at fighting. You look at the Creator and ask him a direct question. Do you hate me that much? No matter how the story starts, it always ends in a tragedy and with me taking my own life. God does not flinch. He throws the question back at you with icy calm. Is there a better ending for people who work in jobs like this? Do you think there is a happy retirement for those who make a living from death? Faced with God's question, your mind goes blank and you cannot answer. You try to justify yourself. You say it is unfair that those bodies had memories of their own and acted alone in critical moments as if you were a simple passenger. You insist that if you could control the body voluntarily, you would have made better decisions and would have survived. God lets out a short laugh and offers you a challenge. Fine. He will give you total control. You will be the absolute master of every movement. But in exchange, the protection mechanism will disappear. You will have to endure everything the character feels. Every blow, every broken bone, every ounce of sadness and pain will reach your brain at 100%. Without filters, without anesthesia, you feel a knot in your stomach. Fear runs down your spine, but your ego is bigger than your common sense. You accept the deal. With your hand trembling slightly because of what you just signed up for, you take the next assassin card.